This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
It's hour number 3 of Cashing Out right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We've got an absolutely tremendous hour coming up for you as we've got all 30 teams in Major League Baseball seeing the diamond. So we're going to be breaking down these games. We're going to be taking a look at what we're getting in terms of playoff action out there in the NBA and the NHL. And in 15 minutes, Dana Lane, he does a tremendous job being able to break down that great game of hockey. He's going to be joining me. I know that he's doing a tremendous job being able to decipher everything over at pickdogs.com. So we're going to be chatting with him about what we saw in the Carolina Hurricanes and the fact that they finally got a win in the Eastern Conference final round as they had lost 15 straight games going back to the 2009 Eastern Conference Finals. So they got the job done there. Can they perhaps be able to push this to a game number 6? And we have to take a look at what we're going to be getting in terms of that Oilers versus Stars game. So we're going to be chatting with him about that in about 15 minutes. In about 45 minutes, I'm going to just recap all the cards that we've got for this Baseball Tuesday. Don't have as much with regards to the NBA in terms of like set bets because I'm much more of an in-game bettor personally, as I've been saying. If you've done absolutely nothing but betting the underdog that falls down double-figure amount of points here in the postseason, you've done really well for yourself, and that's the approach I'm going to be taking in terms of that Knicks versus Pacers game here on Tuesday. But certainly we've got a lot that is going to be going down in the NBA there, and we do have to recap what we saw on Monday as well. As we saw a whale of a game between the OKC Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves. For the Timberwolves, they do cover the spread of 3. For the OKC Thunder, they forgot how to inbound the ball in the final 45 seconds of the game, so looked like the Thunder, they were going to be able to win and cover that game as they were pretty much in control throughout. Like, there was one moment where I think that the Timberwolves got down like 1 point. I think that was like 77-76 late in the third quarter. But, I mean, it felt like the Thunder, every single time the Timberwolves would cut it to 1 possession, they would cut it to like 3-4 points. They always had a response, but for the OKC Thunder, a little bit of a ill-timed turnover. They do get the job done, the Minnesota Timberwolves do, in terms of covering the spread, and it was all based on the role players. And that's something that I'd be looking to fade in game number 5. Like, you were just not going to see Dante DiVincenzo and Nickeil Alexander-Walker combine for 44 points off the bench, and we're not going to see Julius Randle lay a complete egg, only scoring 5 points in game number 4. That's the reason why this Minnesota Timberwolves team lost. Even if you got a below-average game from Randle, I mean, he had as many turnovers as he did points. He just was not good in this game, so that was a bit of an issue, and I mean, credit where it is due. You can call out Randle where you want to. Jaden McDaniels was really able to step up. In this one, he was able to have 20-plus points. And for the OKC Thunder, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just getting bucket after bucket. Now, it was a little bit shaky from three-point range at 2 of 7, but I mean, he was able to hit all those mid-range shots, was able to ice the game late with those free throws. 40 points, 10 assists, 9 rebounds. I would need to do like a Google search as to how many 40-point triple-doubles we've seen in postseason history, but he came 1 rebound shy of it, and I can't think that there's much more than like 5 that we've ever seen, aside from Will Chamberlain. Maybe Will Chamberlain gave you 1 or 2, but yeah, just absolutely insane what we saw there. And now in terms of the line that we've got for game number 5, it is the OKC Thunder as 8.5-point favorites. Total is 220.5. Again, after we saw such a high-scoring game with 79 points in the fourth quarter in the Thunder versus Wolves game here in Monday, I'd be looking at an under there. Like I said, I'll be betting this a little bit more in-game. We'll see if we get some opportunities there, or perhaps there just are no opportunities to be had. Sometimes that happens. Like, I was looking to be able to get on the total in this one because I was thinking at some point we would be able to get an under. Thank goodness gracious, I did not bet on any live under in this game because there were just no stops happening by any of these teams. Now, I do think that, once again, when you see a team get down 10 points, something like that, you're able to find some good value on that live spread, but certainly in terms of the total here on Monday, there just wasn't a lot of value there. So how about if we do take a look at what we're getting in terms of Major League Baseball, because I do think that you're going to get some good live betting opportunities in terms of that Knicks versus Pacers game. Not really anything that I'm going to commit to prior to the game, though. Again, I'm thinking that the Pacers are going to get the job done. I think at some point I'm going to be able to find a good buy point on them. Just something to where I'm going to be gauging that when we do get things going down out there on the court, and I think they'll be able to find a better number in game, but I think that we've got a pretty solid number with regards to this game. This is 967, 968 on the card. The Cleveland Guardians, they're going to be playing us the LA Dodgers as it's May Day. Dustin May is going to be going for the Dodgers, and it's old Tanner Bybee who goes for the Cleveland Guardians. Right now for the Dodgers, as low as minus 128 is what you're going to lay on the money line, as high as a minus 135. Then you neighbor about plus 115, plus 118, that number on Cleveland, and the total is 8.5. Personally, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the Dodgers. I set them at a minus 137, and with Dustin May, it does appear as though he's starting to find who he truly is, because for Dustin May, last few seasons, he has dealt with a whole bunch of injuries, has been just unable to get out there on the field, and I remember prior to the injuries and prior to multiple season-ending injuries, he was a really good strikeout artist, so we're starting to see that come back up. And for the Cleveland Guardians, I actually mentioned this in the first hour when we were taking a look at some of these teams that are outside the top two in their own divisions and which teams might be able to provide a little bit of bang for your buck in terms of being able to win the division and which ones will not. The Guardians were certainly a will not, because you just have so many guys on this team that are just not hitting for any sort of average. These guys are just not able to move line in general, because I like Jose Ramirez. He's been able to give you 9 home runs. He's hitting above a 300. He's been rock solid, but I mean, what do these guys all have in common? Brian Rocchio, Will Wilson, Bo Naylor, Nolan Jones, John Kenzie Noel, Austin Hedges. They're all hitting below a 200, and now you've got Lane Thomas back in. Lane Thomas has provided a $169 on base this season. I recognize that's not the world's biggest sample size, but man, it's not necessarily been great for him. And then this is a Cleveland Guardians bullpen that has really regressed from where it was a season ago. Last year, they were number one in all of baseball in terms of their bullpen ERA. You've seen Emmanuel Clase just not be himself this far this season. We have seen Hunter Gaddis go on the bereavement list, so you wish him nothing but the best, but he's been really their main relief guy that has been trustworthy for them. Cade Smith has been relatively okay as well, but with the LA Dodgers, do have to have a little bit of trepidation with that bullpen. You've been relying upon guys like Jack Dreyer along with Ben Kasparis in terms of their long relief, because they're dealing with Evan Phillips being on the injured list, Michael Kopech, Bruce Gradwell. There's a lot of guys that are just out of the fold in general for this LA Dodgers team, but I do think that Dustin May goes out there, gives you a relatively good start. I do think that Tanner Bybee holds it down for the Guardians. How about a sub-150 ERA at home for him thus far this season? Now, if you look at the advanced numbers, the fielding dependent is a little bit higher than his raw ERA. He's not getting the same amount of strikeouts that he did a season ago, but overall, I do take a look at the spot, and I do think that you're going to be able to get an under, semi-total more on an 8.3, and with the LA Dodgers, I'd be willing to go to that 135 money line that I'm seeing right now. Wouldn't want to go any further than that, but going to be willing to dive in on that Dodgers money line, as it is cashing out with myself, Greg Hoops Peterson, holding it down for Joe Sorrell tonight right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, and have yet to touch upon this game, as we've got a little bit of a reunion and a little bit of a, shall we say, a guy that is going to be going back to a familiar place. This is 975, 976 on the card, the Cincinnati Reds, and yes, Bill Belichick, we're on to Cincinnati. They're on the road, facing up against the Kansas City Royals, with Daniel Lynch going on the bump for the Royals, and Brady Singer goes for the Reds. Right now with the Reds, right around about minus 105 to a minus 110. Same goes for the Kansas City Royals with a total of 8 to 8.5. Personally, between an 8 to an 8.5, because I set my total at an 8.2, so I'm in between A and B. I would rather have an 8.5 under rather than an 8 over, mainly because this has been a Royals team that has been in the bottom 7 in all of baseball in terms of run creation. You've got someone in Vinny Pasquantino who's been able to get 8 home runs thus far this season, but he's right now leading the way there. Bobby Witt Jr., Miguel Garcia, both hitting right around 300. Both of these guys have been able to supply 5 home runs, so they've been able to give you a little bit of something there, but that bottom of the lineup has been pretty rough for them as well, even though you've got Drew Waters now being able to move line. And for the Cincinnati Reds, their offensive numbers on the road have been a little bit warped this year by the fact that they scored that 24 spot against the Baltimore Orioles a few weeks ago when they were going against Charlie Morton, but they still have a bunch that they don't necessarily have a ton of power. Elly De La Cruz has been able to give you 9 home runs as far this season, and Matt McClain has been able to give you a little bit of hard contact, but still with Matt McClain hitting below the middle sign 200, that's been a little bit of an issue for them. And this is a Royals team that I absolutely love this bullpen. Lucas Erceg, Carlos Aceves, really good 8th and 9th inning duo. Both of these guys have been able to supply you with a sub-225 ERA. Additionally, you've had Steven Cruz come in and do a nice job of holding down the fort for this team, and John Schreiber has done a nice job as well for the Reds, it's a solid bullpen that is starting to see a bit of regression with Luis May, Graham Ashcraft and company having some rough outings. The weekend series that we saw against the Chicago Cubs, that was very eye-opening, as going into that series, you had the Reds be above average with regards to bullpen ERA. Now they have fallen below that number 15 mark to be average, so that's a bit of an issue for them. I do think that for the Reds, you're going to be able to get a solid start out of Brady Singer. I feel like he's pitched a little bit better than what his raw ERA would indicate. He has been a guy that's been a little bit up and down throughout his career, and it feels like Brady Singer, he's had a lot of unlucky years in general, as he always does a pretty solid job in terms of being able to give you those strikeouts. This year, about 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, down a little bit from his career numbers of more like 8.5 strikeouts per 9, but 488 ERA, closer to a 440 fielding depending. He's only giving up about 1.2 home runs per 9 innings, so I do expect a little bit of positivity here. And then on the flip side, you've got Daniel Lynch, who's been mostly utilized as a long guy, and I do think that taking a look at some of these guys that they either come out of the bullpen exclusively or they become just a full-time starter, I think that is something that is interesting to look at, because with Lynch, he is making his second start of the season. He's been very reliable out there in the bullpen, and typically he's went only about an inning or less out of the bullpen as well. So this is going to be a little bit of a, shall we say, difficult stretch for him. I do think that the Royals are going to be doing a lot of mixing matching in this one, especially with the fact that Lynch, he's got a sub-2 ERA, but he's getting 4.7 strikeouts to 4.7 walks per 9 innings. As a starter, it's a different ball of wax where they need you to be able to not just be able to get those outs, but at the same time be able to provide a little bit of length as well. So it's a very fascinating game. I did set the Royals more around a minus 112, so at a minus 110, do like that money line, and like I said, would rather have an 8.5 under rather than an 8 over. And coming up next, how about if we do talk a little bit of hockey, as we've got ourselves a lot that is going to be happening on the ice, and we're going to be talking about that with Dana Lane next, right here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're back here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Great to be joined by this man on the Progressive Guest Line, as we've got Dan Lane aboard. He does a tremendous work over at PickDogs.com. He's one of the main handicappers over there, taking a look at a little hockey, taking a look at some baseball, and so much more. And Dana, great to get you aboard. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate your time. I always love coming on, do a great show, and thank you for asking me to be part of it.
Absolutely. We always love talking with you because you do such a great job on the hockey front. And let's take a look at what we did see on this Memorial Day Monday. As for the Carolina Hurricanes, I keep calling them the Carolina Panthers because you got the Panthers, you got Carolina, so that's happened to be quite a bit. But for the Hurricanes, they finally snap a 15-game losing streak in the Eastern Conference Finals. And the real question becomes, can they make it 2 in a row? Because the one thing that I've taken from the Hurricanes is that they've got some of the largest home and road splits that you're going to find of any team in hockey.
Yeah, and you could go back a long time for those home and road splits. I could point to plenty of playoff series in the past where, they won all their home games and, not so great on the road. But they did get a win tonight, and Rod Brind'Amour can sleep after putting a 1 in the goose egg column as far as winning in the Eastern Conference Finals. But it's interesting because I think Florida I think they took Carolina's best shot tonight. And they only lost this game, technically by a goal, excluding the couple empty netters. But it's a really good lesson for bettors because going into this game, the Panthers have outscored the Canes 16-4, and most people that I listen to will say, well, how could this be any different? Well, I think the one thing that we overlook as handicappers and as general bettors, I think we overlook the professionals that are behind the bench, and certainly between Paul Maurice and Rod Brind'Amour, Brind'Amour had a great game plan, and his ability to motivate his team. I think we really overlook coaching and their ability to put guys in the right place at the right time. But a great game tonight. We see this number come out on game 5 as low as minus $1.07, but Florida is a road favorite with a 5.5 under minus 25. So that will be interesting. I see the Sharps are already going to be pounding the Canes. So if you like Carolina, you might want to get on them now.
Yeah, but I think that's so interesting to gauge this one as well, because I know that you've been a big proponent of the puck line, and with just this game in general, right now we're seeing the puck line, if you want the alternate puck line with the Carolina Hurricanes, because in a lot of places they open up as a +1.5, if you're able to get them, you're able to get +$2 on either way. And how much would you be taking a look at just whichever team you think is going to win, laying a puck and a half? Because I've been noting this all postseason long. These teams that have been winning these games more than 2/3 of the time, they've been winning it by multiple goals.
Always. I always do. I mean, we talked before the show that when we're talking about the NHL or Major League Baseball, when we're talking about moneyline sports, I always look to lay the 1.5 and get the plus money. I just think that's the play. We don't handicap these games to win by a goal or a run. We handicap these games because we think a team is considerably better than their opponent. So it makes sense to lay the 1.5 or the 1.5 runs and get the plus money. But I'll be doing that in the Dallas-Edmonton game because I think Edmonton's going to win that game, and you're going to give me plus $1.50. I'd be more than happy to take that.
Yep, absolutely. I think that that's a great way of being able to slice it, as we are being joined by Dana Lane. He does a tremendous job being able to gauge a great game of hockey. He does some great work on the baseball front as well. Joining me right here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. And Smarter Bets, they do start with VSiN Pro, and now's the time that you want to join in, because typically we charge $20 a month for a subscription, but if you jump in right now, we're going to shave $41 off that annual subscription fee, down from $240 to $199, and additionally, we're going to throw in there an extra 2 months. So you're going to get 14 months of VSiN for less than 50 cents a day. This includes all of our daily best bet emails with all of our VSiN shows and guest plays, the VSiN Watch app. You're able to get full access to it, betting splits from Circa and DraftKings, and so much more. Just go to VSiN.com/subscribe, type in the promo code PRO, P-R-O, and that'll save you $41 and get you an additional 2 months for free over at VSiN.com/subscribe. And Dana, how about if we do take a look at the game that we're going to be getting on Tuesday? Because with the Edmonton Oilers, they do find themselves as a favorite here, but you're alluding to it. You're not going to be looking at more of that money line with the Edmonton Oilers. You're going to be looking at the puck line, and right now we've got a total of 6.5, as this has been a much higher scoring series thus far than what we've been seeing out east. And how do you slice this one with the Edmonton Oilers, a team that I really like the way that the offense has been playing, and lone concern that I have is Stuart Skinner for them?
Yeah, it is interesting because, look, handicapping in the NHL, especially in the postseason, it's not anything that anybody can't do. All you have to do is watch the games. It breaks down to who you believe in as far as goaltending is concerned, which power play you think is better, and who has the biggest superstar. And right now, Edmonton checks those boxes. And it's funny because what was it, 2 series ago, where we were Edmonton Oilers fans were saying, hey, we really want Stuart Skinner out of there. We wanted Calvin Pickard in net. And hey, all of a sudden, nobody's saying that because Stuart Skinner has been absolutely fantastic. A couple things that I am a little bit worried about, and of course, Roope Hintz was out in the previous game for Pete DeBoer's Dallas Stars team, which he's their number 1 center, which does affect them on the power play. So even though the Stars have remained scoreless with the man advantage over the last 2 games, that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to equate with what they do in this upcoming game. I will be interested to see if Matthias Ekholm is going to return for the Edmonton Oilers. And of course, he's a guy that can come right in and give you 20 minutes and give them a lot of depth defensively. So that might counter that a little bit. And Ekholm is a guy, at least in his career, who has been terrific in the postseason. So the Dallas Stars might be getting a little bit healthier on their power play, and Edmonton will potentially get a little bit healthier on their D. But Ekholm coming back is a game time decision. I know he was on the ice the other day and said he couldn't go, so we'll see about that. But I still like Edmonton. I still love the way Connor McDavid is really carrying this team on his back. And I know it's so easy and cliche to say, well, your stars have to be your stars. But when they are, and you also have depth scoring and you have the goaltending advantage, which I think Skinner has right now over Ottinger, that's a tough go against if I like the other side.
And I'm so glad that you mentioned the injury front in this game as well, because with the Dallas Stars, as we know, they've been mixing and matching all postseason long. Their toughest series was actually against the Colorado Avalanche because they were way down there. How much do you factor that in, the fact that this Dallas Stars team, they've had to utilize so many combinations due to all the injuries that they had coming into the playoffs?
Yeah, I factor that in quite a bit. One of my personal cliches is the bigger the name that is out, the more that it affects everybody else, and not because of the name or the quality of the player, just because of the shuffling that has to go on behind them. And yeah, we're kind of at the point of the year where everybody, at least in practice, has practiced with each other, different line combinations. But there is a game time cohesion that you have to take into account. And really, I mean, Dallas has shown a tremendous amount of depth, and I guess you can add depth onto that. My three rules in handicapping the postseason. Depth is great, but I think when you get at this level, it's not as big of a deal. You have those guys that are willing to block shots and get into passing lane, which we saw tonight from both teams. But I do think that injuries play a massive role and which in a team's ability to find cohesion on the ice, and the bigger the name, the more shuffling has to go on behind them. So yes, certainly a factor there. Not as big of a factor as it would be in the regular season, just because I think at this point in the year, you have teams that no matter what the injury issues look like, everybody's played with everybody at this point.
And I am so glad that you mentioned the goaltending advantage that you feel like the Oilers have as well, because I think that this is a really interesting total of 6.5. Do you have enough faith in both Ottinger along with Stuart Skinner to be able to hold this one under? Because, as we know, two high-flying teams with regards to scoring, but I still feel like Jake Ottinger, even if he might not be as hot as he was towards the beginning part of the postseason, might be able to do enough to be able to keep this under.
Yeah, I think it's going to go under. I think 6.5 is a little bit much. I know Ottinger has been a little bit shaky. I've heard people already say, hey, maybe Ottinger's the one that we can't rely on. But I've been watching this guy quite a bit. I've watched him since he was a kid playing for Team USA, playing for the U18 team. I think I know Jake Ottinger pretty good. I know he's been a little bit shaky, but he's had a history of being able to bounce back. 6 goals the other night. Again, let's not lean on what we just saw. Let's assume that Ottinger is going to bounce back and have a better game 5. But when a goaltender is hot like Skinner is, now that's a streak that I continue with. So I continue with hot streaks, and I go against what I just saw as far as a cold streak is concerned, because I think these are professional players that easily bounce back mentally no matter how many goals they let up.
I think that that's great advice, Dana, and always appreciate you joining me. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Great to be able to talk with Dana Lane, be able to break down what we're getting in the NHL playoffs. And coming up next, how about if we go from the ice to the diamond right here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're back here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. It was great to be joined by Dana Lane, who does a tremendous job being able to handicap this great game of hockey. He joined me in the last segment. Going to be a lot of fun to see what we get in terms of the game number 4 between the Stars and the Oilers, and additionally what we're getting moving forward for the Carolina Hurricanes, as they were able to stave off elimination and got the job done here on Monday. We'll see if they're able to return home, where they've been very, very good over the last few seasons, aside from when they reach the Eastern Conference Finals. So it was great to be joined by him. Big thanks to Dana for joining me in the last segment. Now let's take a look at some baseball that we've got on this Tuesday, as we've got all 30 teams in action. We've broken down quite a few of these games already, but we've got a few loose ends that we need to tie up, and this is one where it's a little bit TBD right now. As we go to 977, 978 on the card, it is the Boston Red Sox. They are going to be hitting the road facing off against the Milwaukee Brewers. We know that Aaron Savali is going to be getting the start for the Brewers. Right now, it's quite TBD as to what we're going to be getting from the Boston Red Sox. Like, when I was taking a look on CBS Sports, which they typically do the best job of knowing who the projected starting pitchers are going to be, they were projecting out as if it was going to be the main man that we saw from them a season ago. So, I mean, it was a very interesting scenario. You were seeing Cooper Criswell is who I was seeing a little bit before. So, that's a big reason why at a lot of places this is off the board. The places that do have this up, they are right now projecting the Brewers at about a -120, and you're seeing that total at an 8.5. So, we shall see what happens with regards to that pitching matchup. But if you do indeed get Cooper Criswell, I'd be willing to go up to about a -118 with the Brewers on the money line. If you do indeed get Criswell, he has thrown like a long relief appearance or two for this Boston Red Sox team, just has not been sharp in general. And if you do get Criswell, I'm pretty much shaking it as almost a pseudo bullpen game for the Red Sox. And for the Red Sox, they haven't been bad in their bullpen, but they haven't necessarily been amazing in their bullpen either. And for this Red Sox team, you've had two guys really step up for them. Brandon Bernardino has been able to give you a sub-2 ERA along with Aroldis Chapman, but for those who have seen Aroldis Chapman and his work, he always seems to fail you at the absolute wrong time. I have to think that perhaps he might get a little bit of long relief out of Garrett Woodlock as well. He's the guy that is able to give you a little bit of length. Greg Weiser, Justin Wilson, these have been two guys who have been able to give you a sub-320 ERA, so these guys have been able to give you a little bit of a good performance as well. And for the Milwaukee Brewers, what has been interesting has been this bullpen just really regressing. As for this Brewers team, you've had the likes of Yoel Payamps, Elvis Figueroa just not be what they were a season ago, and even when they've been out there on the field, they just haven't given you a ton, because I think that Elvis Figueroa is actually down at the minor league level. It's gotten that bad for him. You've had Abner Uribe be really good in this bullpen for you, but Jared Koenig, not what he was a season ago. And Aaron Savali has been getting lit up like a Christmas tree. 2 appearances thus far this season, has given up 7 runs in 7 innings. Do think that there's a little bit of positivity due for him. He was dealing with injury towards the beginning part of the season, but I do think that for the Brewers, you're going to be able to do a nice job of being able to move line. This is not a team that necessarily has a ton of power. Jackson Chourio is up to 8 home runs, but he's been giving you less than a 280 on base. And Christian Yelich is the other home run hitter. He's been able to give you 9 bombs, but for Yelich, barely hitting above the Mendoza line 200, he's been a little bit of a shell of himself. But you've got past that a lot of guys like Sal Frelick, Bryce Terang, Rhys Hoskins, these guys being able to give you north of a 340 on base. You need to sort things out in the middle infield, as Caleb Durbin, Lonjorie Ortiz have had a little bit of a go of it, though Durbin came up very big in that win against the Pittsburgh Pirates on Sunday. Meanwhile, flip side, Boston Red Sox, they've been really not the same team without Alex Bregman. They have lost each other last 3 games without him, so that's been something to monitor, because you do still have plenty of power for this team. You've been able to have Rafael Devers supply 12 home runs. I mean, he's not going to pick up a glove, but he's been picking up with the bat north of 400 on base. Tyler Abreu, 12 home runs. He's been able to give you about a 340 on base, but Christian Campbell has been really regressing for this team. He's been only hitting about a 225. He and Zidane Rafael both really not giving you a ton at the plate right now. With Tristan Casas being out for the year, you're going to need a little bit more there, but I said, if you're seeing this total of 8.5, would be willing to go under. I do think that there's some relative positivity coming here for Aaron Savali. And if we could get a -118 or better, right now, very few places have this up, and they've got more of a 20-cent straddle rather than a dime line. We'll be looking at the Brewers on the money line. And how about if we do dive in on this game? This is one where we've got some more set numbers here, as this is going to be game number 971, 972, or 971, 972 for the rotation. You've got the San Francisco Giants on the road against the Detroit Tigers. Captain Jack Flaherty goes for the Detroit Tigers. Logan Webb is on the bump for San Francisco, and Giants are about a -120, -125 favorite, right around about even money. +111 is what I'm seeing on Detroit, and I'm going to be willing to take a shot on that Tigers money line for Jack Flaherty. He has been giving up a little bit too much hard contact. He's been giving up north of 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. That said, he is a really good strikeout artist. I know that Michaela Bennett, who joined me in hour number 2, big thanks to her, she is taking a look at his K-prop over, and I think that that's a relatively solid look. You've got a San Francisco Giants team that has been relatively okay in terms of their overall production, in terms of the offense, but you've got a lot of guys that are a little bit of free swingers on this team, for one, and for two, you've been having yourself just William Adames giving you absolutely nothing whatsoever. This has been a bad signing for them. You, additionally, with the San Francisco Giants team, do have a few guys like Patrick Bailey and company at the bottom of the lineup there. Give you a big, giant nothing burger. Luis Matos has been hitting below the Mendoza line of 200 as well. And for the Tigers, this team has been very good with their offense. How about them being a top 4 team in the American League in terms of runs per game? Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, both being able to give you a double-figure amount of homers. You've got Kerry Carpenter, who's been able to get up to 10 home runs as well, and for the Detroit Tigers, they just mix and match in this bullpen. Dating back to the All-Star break of the 2024 season, number 1 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Got so many guys like a Brendan Hennepy, John Brebbia, being able to give you a sub-3 ERA, Will Vest, Tommy Canley. These guys have been able to come up very big for them. And the Giants, if you looked at just this season and just this season alone, they are number 1 in terms of their bullpen ERA, as Randy Rodriguez has been able to step up in a big way. Hayden Birdsong was one of their main long guys. He's been now thrusted into a starter's role, but he still is able to give you some relatively good production when you need him to go into that bullpen as well. So I do think that they're going to continue to be able to have that good production. But that said, with Logan Webb, once again, I will always point it out with Logan Webb. Career .268 home ERA, 0.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings. That home runs per 9 rate doubles when he's on the road, and that goes up to a .408 ERA on the road. Now, it is a little bit more of a pitcher's ballpark, but I think that we've gone a little bit too far down with regards to this total. I do think that both of these guys give up a little bit too much hard contact, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the 7 over, and I'm going to be willing to take a shot on that money line of Detroit as we're able to get plus money there, so that does intrigue me. What else intrigues me is the sharp plays. The sharpplays.com, they are making sure that they are on top of a little bit of everything. They don't chase the market because they move it. You are not going to get, you're not going to be able to outmuscle these billion-dollar sports books or full-time sports bettors on your own. That's why they come in and they're helping you do the work that you might not be able to do. Powered by cutting-edge AI and trusted insider sources, the Sharp Plays delivers edges that serious bettors rely upon. You'll be able to get free betting reports on the old Twitter/X along with email, and this isn't some overnight setup. The Sharp Plays has been documented for as long as 2011, so more than a decade, full of their track record with receipts, public logs, and results that are right there on the website. Respected, watched, and feared. That is the Sharp Plays. Check them out now at sharpplays.com as it is cashing out with myself, Greg Eaps Peterson, right here on Visa, the Sports Betting Network, holding it down for Joe Sorrell tonight. And here's a game that I've yet to break down, and I think that this one is very intriguing as I'm going to go with a large underdog here. How about if we go 955, 956 on the betting board? It is the Arizona Diamondbacks playing us the Pittsburgh Pirates as walking the plank for the Buccos is Mike Burrows, and Corbin Burns goes for the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are very sizable favorites here. How about between minus 245 to minus 260, between plus 210 to plus 220, seeing as high as plus 221, that number on Pittsburgh with a total of 9. For Burrows, if you take a look at what he did at the minor league level when he was over there at AAA in Indianapolis, he was posting up a 251 ERA, north of 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. Did get a little blaze in his first start against the Milwaukee Brewers, but Corbin Burns, I think, is really doing for some regression. His ERA is a 2.67, which that looks pretty good on the surface, but he's given up 4 walks per 9 innings. That's just not Corbin Burns like. His strikeout numbers are way down. He's only getting about 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. That fielding depends a little bit north of a 4. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks, this has not been some amazing bullpen this year. Ever since A.J. Puck went down with an injury, he's currently on the injured list. That hurts his team quite a bit. You've been able to get Justin Martinez back, and he's been one of their better long relievers this season, but Kevin Ginkel has been just all sorts of awful for the team. They're looking to Kendall Graveman, who just came off the injured list, to be able to hold down the fort for them. And for the Pittsburgh Pirates, it's not necessarily a great bullpen of their own. Joey Wentz has not necessarily been the world's greatest pickup for them, but Chase Shogert has been able to give you some relatively solid innings. Dennis Santana is a guy that I like. Now for the Pirates, O'Neal Cruz, 10-plus home runs this season. Really one of the few guys that has given you north of a 320 on base. Brian Reynolds, Jared Trollo, guys like this. Towards the bottom of the lineup, Alex Canario hitting below a 220. That's been a bit of an issue for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and for the Arizona Diamondbacks and Eugenio Suarez, along with Corbin Carroll, both having 15 home runs. That does help out, but you have had a few guys like Lourdes Gurriel and company that have had a little bit of a rough time being able to find a way to be able to get on base as well. So that does cause me a little bit of pause with the Diamondbacks. And again, I do think that this Pittsburgh Pirates team, for as bad as their offense has been, they have scored now 4 runs or fewer in all but 3 out of their last 31 games. I do think that they find a way to be able to get things going here, and at a plus 220, I'll be able to take a shot on that Buccos money line. I do like the 9 under as well. And to wrap up the show next, how about if we take a look at what I'm all betting on the baseball front for this Tuesday, right here on Cashing Out on Visa, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're back here for the final segment of the night, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. If you're listening live to Cashing Out, you're going to be getting a replay of this fine program. Meanwhile, if you're listening to the replay, coming up at 7 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, 4 o'clock a.m. Pacific, it's going to be VSiN by the books. Our good friends Dave Ross, Jensen Lewis doing an amazing job there. Then you get a numbers game with Gil Alexander at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. And then I joined the Money Moves crew actually on Monday. I will not be joining them on Tuesday, but always a good time there. John Von Tobel and company doing a nice job holding it down there. So now my job is very clear. It is my job to be able to get you to VSiN by the books cleanly, hopefully with a little bit more money in pocket and hopefully a little bit more enlightened, as we've got ourselves a great slate of baseball that's going to be going down on Tuesday, and I'll give you guys what I like on this card. And first things first, we've got one or two games that we have to preview, so how about if we do that first, as we've got ourselves the Minnesota Twins on the road against the Tampa Bay Rays. Taj, don't call him, Milton Bradley is on the bump for the Rays, and Joe Ryan goes for Minnesota. Right now, that total is 8 in a lot of spots, shaded up to the over. Starting to see one or two straight 8.5s pop up as well. Meanwhile, for the Twins, right around about minus 114 to minus 125 money line favorites, with a little bit over plus 105, that number on the Tampa Bay Rays. And with the Rays, I did set them as quite a bit of an underdog. I was willing to go up to a minus 124 with Minnesota. This is a Twins bunch that has really been able to get hot over the last few weeks. The offense has been leaving a little bit of something to be desired. I did set my total between an 8 to an 8.5 personally. I'd rather take an 8.5 under rather than an 8 over, even though it is starting to warm up out there in Florida. And I do think that the ball is really going to be flying this summertime out there in Tampa Bay, but that said, for Joe Ryan, the trepidation that you do have with him is a deep ball. Throughout his career, he's been giving up about 1.4 to 1.5 home runs per 9 innings away from home, only about 1 home run per 9 innings at home. But that said, he's been able to do a nice job of just being able to give you some good strikeout stuff this season. He's been walking fewer than 2.5 guys per 9 innings, nearly 10 strikeouts per 9. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, this has been a bottom 10 team in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. Jonathan Aranda has been able to give you 400 on base, and Brandon Lau, he's now up to 10 home runs this season, but Lau's not really giving you a lot of production in terms of moving the line. You've got a lot of guys in general, like Taylor Walls and company, that just have not been able to find a way on base. That entire catcher spot has been brutal. And Junior Caminero, while he gives you 9 home runs, only about a 280 in terms of that on base. Now, you do have a Rays bullpen that always is very supreme. This is a top 10 team with regards to their bullpen ERA. Eric Orzave has been actually really good in this bullpen. He, Hunter Biggie, Manuel Rodriguez, Garrett Clevenger, Pete Fairbanks, whole bunch of guys give you a sub 250 ERA. But the Minnesota Twins, how about what this bullpen has been able to do? Danny Kalum has yet to give up an earned run this far this season. As for the Minnesota Twins, they currently find themselves in the top 5 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA at a 3.19. They're currently number 4 in all of baseball. You've had Louis Varland be able to give you a sub 3 ERA. You've been able to get some relatively good production out of Yohan Adon, who's been one of the better closers in all baseball. Now again, Trevor Larnach, he's hitting about a 250. He's been able to give this team 7 home runs. Not having Byron Buxton, who's been dealing with a little bit of concussion, has hurt this team a little bit. But for the Minnesota Twins, you've also been able to get a little bit more production on some of these ancillary guys. Carlos Correa is starting to step it up just a little bit, as it's been a bit of a lost season for him. But you've got someone like a Ty France, who's now giving you close to about a 320 on base. I do think that Joe Ryan goes out there, gets the job done, especially against a guy in Taj Bradley that I'm just not bullish on him right now. He's been giving up this season well north of a home run per 9 innings. His strikeout stuff is way down. For his first 2 years in the big leagues, he was getting about 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, less than 7.5 strikeouts per 9 this season. Not necessarily doing the world's greatest job in terms of command. So I do think that for Joe Ryan, should be closer to about a minus 124 favorite, like the Twins on the money line. And like I said, between an 8 to an 8.5, would rather have an 8.5 under rather than an 8 over. And then we have to hit the A's versus Astros game. This is 963, 964 on the card, with it being our good friend Hunter Brown on the bump for Houston, and JP Sears is on the bump for the A's. I know that Michaela Bennett, who joined me in hour number 2, was talking about the Hunter Brown strikeout prop, and that might be a way to be able to reduce juice here, because with the Astros, they're about minus $2 favorites, and we're in the neighborhood about plus 178 to plus 180 is that number on the A's. Total of 7.5, shaded up to the over, and you're still able to get plus money / even money on that Astros run line. I'm going to be willing to sign up there for JP Sears. Throughout his career, has just given up about 1.3, 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, and has been a little bit better this year, but I fear that a bit of regression might be coming. And for Hunter Brown, last start out, it was a little bit brutal for him, but still, it's only given up a grand total of, I believe now, 7 runs over the course of his last 5 starts. Guys given up 2 earned runs or fewer in 6 out of his last 8 starts, so has been very nice on that front. He's given you nearly 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, has been a tremendous pitcher at home this year as well. He's backed up by a really good bullpen, and the A's, they just don't simply have that. Michael Oton, Tyler Ferguson, guys like this, posting up north of 4 ERA. That's been an issue for an A's bullpen that is currently in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA. Astros are a top 5 team with this regard. The Bryants, Brian King, Brian Abreu, have been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Additionally, you've been able to get really good production out of Josh Hader after he had been a little bit shaky last year, to say the least. And you've also had Caleb Ward come in there, hold down the fort for the Astros. You need a little bit more out of your lineup, though. Cam Smith is now hitting about a 260. Young Gun is starting to be able to step up for the team, but Christian Walker has not been able to give you a ton. He and Junior Diaz both give you less than a 285 on base. So you do have Isaac Paredes, who's now up to 11 home runs this season. He's doing a nice job on that front. And then for the A's, Tyler Soderstrom, 10 home runs as far as the season, but only 1 home run in the last 28 days. So he needs to pick that up a little bit. Brent Rooker is up to 12 home runs. And then you've been able to have Zach Wilson hit for about a 350, and he's starting to draw some walks as well. So that helps out the A's a little bit. So takes out my total 7.7. I do think that you were expected to get a little bit of regression for Hunter Brown. I think that he's starting to hone in. So a very solid pitcher. Don't think that he's as good as he was prior to that previous start, but I do think that the Astros do get to JP Sears being able to get even money / plus money on that run line of the Astros. Sign me up there, and I'm going to be in on this over as well. And then we've got everything brought to you by G-Bank here today with regards to our best bets. They are introducing the $500 trifecta. That's where G-Bank, First Bet, and VSiN all come together. All you need to do is open up a G-Bank Visa signature card, and in the first 90 days, deposit and play through a $1,000 deposit over at First Bet to trigger that $500 trifecta. You'll receive $200 in cashback rewards on your G-Bank's Visa signature card. First Bet, they will give you a $100 deposit match, and then VSiN completes the trifecta. You're able to get a free VSiN Pro subscription through August 31st. That is a $200 value, so that gives you a $500 trifecta from G-Bank, First Bet, and VSiN. Head on over to VSiN.com/Gbank. That is VSIN.com/Gbank. Do note that this is a one-time promotion that is limited to customers opening up a new account in response to this offer and will not apply to requests to converting existing accounts. Apply today. Current terms and conditions, they certainly do apply, as we've got ourselves a lot that is going to be happening on this baseball front for Tuesday. And this is one that really caught my eye. The Seattle Mariners being about a minus 155 or so favorite against the Washington Nationals. That total is 8. It looks like it's going to be Logan Evans who gets a start for Seattle, and you're able to get about a plus 135, plus 140 run line. Sign me up there. Mitchell Parker has been not great, to say the least, recently. He's given up 3+ runs in now each out of his last 5 starts. He was really walking on sunshine to begin the season, and now he's getting hit hard. 5.9 strikeouts, 4.1 walks per 9 innings. And for Evans, he does have a little bit of a high fielding dependent himself. His ERA is right around about 3.33, closer to a 4.9 fielding dependent, but he also is backed up by a bullpen of Seattle that ranks in the top 10 in the big leagues in terms of ERA, getting what you've been able to get out of these guys like an Andres Munoz, Gabe Spire and company has been begging for the Washington Nationals. Dead last in the National League, north of a 6 ERA on that bullpen. Derek Law has been not great for the team, to say the least. You've had guys like Eduardo Salazar and company just come in as complete and utter gas cans. You've had Kyle Finnegan be able to give you some good innings at the back half of games as a closer, but I don't think that there's going to be a closing spot here. You've been able to get a lot of production out of big dumper Cal Raleigh, who's been able to give the Seattle team 15+ home runs, giving you north of a 360 on base. And for Washington, James Wood, 13+ home runs has been solid for him as well. So I do like the total over at the 8, but I do think that Seattle takes it to the Nationals, being able to get that plus money on the run line. Going to be taking a look there to go along with the over as well. This is a game that I hit a little bit earlier on this show, so how about if we hit it once again? You've got the Colorado Rockies going on the road against the Chicago Cubs, and the handicap is very simple here. The Colorado Rockies are 9-45 this season, and if you can imagine this, they're winning about 15% of their games away from home. I think that they're now 3-24 on the road this season. Like, it's just absolutely awful. I recognize that it's a chalky run line right now. If you're looking to lay a run half with the Chicago Cubs, it's starting to get up to about a -150. As long as you can get in on a -168 or better, I'm going to be looking at that run line of the Chicago Cubs. Just continue to fade the Colorado Rockies, and I'm going to be looking to back and over in a Texas Rangers game. Now, for the Rangers, they have played north of 66% of their games to the under, but I think that they get to Bowden Francis, who right now leads the league in terms of home run surrender, giving up 15 home runs in a little bit over 50 innings this season, and the Blue Jays should be in for a little bit of positivity as well. So do like that over, and with regards to what we're all getting on VSiN, it's always positivity, especially when you got VSiN by the books, starting up at 7 o'clock a.m. Eastern, 10 o'clock, or 7 o'clock a.m. Eastern, 4 o'clock a.m. Pacific time. Our guys Jensen Lewis along with Dave Ross do a tremendous job there. That's followed up by a numbers game with Gil Alexander, noon Eastern time. You're going to get money moves, so we've got you guys locked and loaded on a complete sports slate on this Tuesday right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.